Lazerboy, what is the secret of your powers?
Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to the Lazerboy podcast. This is episode 18. We're going to be talking about the 1989 martial arts film Best of the Best, starring Eric Roberts, James Earl Jones, Chris Penn, and Philip Ree.
A team is not a team if you don't give a damn about one another.
What does it take to turn 5 uncontrollable characters into one unbeatable team?
In this episode, I have a special co-host from my High Fidelity TV podcast, Edwin Lee. What's up, Edwin? How you doing?
I'm doing great. How you doing?
Pretty good. Very excited to talk about Best of the Best. It's a movie that I grew up watching, so really fascinated to hear your take on it because you have not seen it. Am I correct?
Yes, I had not seen it when it came out. Have not seen it for a long time. Have heard plenty about it.
Yeah.
But haven't seen it until just a few days ago to talk about it on this podcast.
Cool. So yeah, Best of the Best is a 1989 American martial arts film, directed by Bob Radler, written by Philip Levine, written by Paul Levine, story by Paul Levine and Philip Ree. And Philip Ree is an interesting case because he's a martial artist. He got in the business by being, stunt coordinator, I believe. Let me actually look that up real quick. Yeah, he's a martial artist, actor, director, and film producer. And yeah, this was his breakout role because before this, he's always like a supporting role, and he co-wrote the story of this, so you could tell like he has some kind of personal attachment to the story. Obviously, him being a martial artist, it's probably obvious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the movie was produced by a lot of unknown studios. The movie group, SVS Company, Queez Entertainment, distributed by Taurus. It's pretty much a B movie, right?
Yes. Basically, if you've never heard of a movie studio, you probably haven't seen another one of their movies.
Yeah. Even the top billed actors are like the B movie kind of B-list actors. It's like the sibling of the famous actor, right? Eric Roberts is the brother of Julia Roberts. Chris Penn, the brother of Sean Penn. The only big name like James Earl Jones and Sally Kirkland, and they're not like the main. They're not top billed. Well, they are just for the sake of, trying to get funding for the movie, perhaps, right? So
yeah, I was impressed that they got James Earl Jones. That's heavyweight acting wise. So that was impressive that they're able to cast.
Yeah. So this movie was critically panned, universally negative about the film. But it has gained several sequels, including Part 2, which is my favorite sequel. I've actually seen Part 3, haven't seen Part 4, but I heard, from my experience, I've only seen Part 3 once, and it is like a completely different movie. You could just give it another name, and it would have been fine, but I think they just needed the name for, for funding, for studio backing, and, well, not studio backing, but, legitimate backing from someone. But yeah, it was just Part 3 and 4 are like vehicles for Philip Ree to showcase his martial arts action prowess, right? And I remember like Part 3 was about like Nazis, like he was like going after Nazis, and Gina Gershon was in it, and he's like riding a motorcycle, and he's badass in it, but I was just like, why call it Best of the Best first of all? And
yeah, that kind of sounds like the First Blood arc, where First Blood was a legit drama about a Vietnam vet coming back home, and it was a good movie, but then it became just crazier and crazier with each Rambo movie after that.
Yeah, and it's fascinating that the 80s and the early 90s were such a different time, right?
Yeah.
We're talking off air earlier about how, like, some of my favorite martial arts movies, like, I don't know, American Ninja and, like, Three Ninjas, or, like, well, these aren't my favorite. Three Ninjas isn't my favorite, but, like, pretty much you can make any movie that has martial arts in it. It could sell as long as there's some good martial arts choreography.
Yeah, do you remember a movie called Gymkata about like these gymnastic? I don't know if they were ninjas or if it was just martial arts, but the gymnast Kirk Thomas was in it, I believe.
Okay, well, this doesn't surprise me. I mean, they could get away with movies like Surf Ninjas back in the day, so like,
yeah,
there you go. But yeah, I grew up on movies, like The Last Dragon, Enter the Dragon, like I said, American Ninja. So like martial arts movies were a huge staple for me. And let me give you guys a little background on how I found out about the movie. I believe like one of my family members may have rented it one night, and on VHS, of course. And I was watching it and I was like, oh man, this is cool. Martial arts, cool looking Asian guy, and he's the star. So, obviously back then, the only Asian representation in cinema would be a martial arts film. You got like Brandon Lee, Bruce Lee. Off the top of my head, those are the main guys, like Jackie Chan, right?
Yeah.
So, and I don't know, maybe I think it's like my uncle or my mom rented it, and I was hooked. I loved it. I love sports movies, and obviously this movie's like an obvious like Rocky ripoff, like the underdog, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who goes through their trials and tribulations and then succeeds at the end. But this movie has a lot more to it. It's about family, right? Even though it may be it may be portrayed very like hammy and very underdeveloped script writing. It's a B movie, like it's first or second draft that they just rushed into production because they're like, hey, it has martial arts, we can make some money off of this. Which ironically it made only 1.7 million at the box office. It probably made a lot more in home video, so that probably is what gave it a sequel and multiple sequels actually. So what did you you just saw this recently per my recommendation to talk about it on a podcast, but you said you had all your friends had talked about it before and you hadn't, so you're always left out of the conversation. So
yeah,
what do you think about the movie now?
Well, I guess I'll contextualize it.
Yes, please.
Korean American, growing up in the 80s, so my Korean American friends, they would talk about how great this movie was and how exciting it was. You got to see it. Oh, you haven't seen it. And I didn't have any interest in it at all, but I just kept hearing about it, and they're like, oh, you got to give it a chance. So when you brought it up, I'm going to do a podcast on Best of Best, you want to talk about it, and I told you I hadn't seen it, and you're like, oh, okay, that's fine. But I said, but I want to see it. I want to see what it's all about. And so having seen it, I can understand why my Korean American friends were so hyped on it, because it probably was the very first time that they saw Korea represented on the screen, a Korean face represented on screen, and that represented them.
Mm-hmm.
He was, their champion, their hero. And so it just goes to show how important representation in media and in other areas of life is important for everybody. no
Yeah,
matter
absolutely.
who you are, whether it's ethnic or racial identification or gender identification or whatever it might be. It's really important to see people that remind you of you doing doing cool things.
Right.
And so I totally get it. And when you're talking about some of the themes, yeah, it's a very 80s movie in the sense that it's very pro-America. It's very pro-US.
Yeah.
And it has a lot to say about the way, I guess, American society views itself. And yes, it does touch on family and other themes, but it is very much a Rocky movie. And when you brought up the Rocky movies, I was thinking, as I was watching it, it was kind of a poor person's Rocky 4.
Yeah.
America,
especially in regards to Drago and Russia and Daehan and in Korea, right? Pretty much the entire Korean national team, but in particular Daehan and Sejin Kwan, who face off against our heroes Tommy Lee and Alex Grady. But let me touch on that for a second about Asian American representation, because I believe you're absolutely right. Even a movie as terrible as this, a B movie, like, it's so empowering to see Philip Ree, who plays Tommy Lee in the movie. Not only because he's an Asian face, and I'm Vietnamese American, but I could still relate just to the fact that not only an Asian face is represented on the screen, but an Asian American, because like obviously like there's not a lot of representation of that generation yet in the 80s. Seeing him on that screen to me for that when I was a kid was completely empowering, and I just remembered how proud I was to see that, and just that's why I think I've always loved this movie, because I relate to his plight so much. He's caught between two worlds, right? He has to live up to his Korean identity and culture, as well as the American way of life. And when you see him get bullied by like Chris Penn's character and stuff like that, I completely relate to that. It's like Asian Americans are probably had their fair share of hardships growing up in American culture. So, but yeah, a little background on Philip Ree, and he and Simon Ree are real brothers in real life. Simon Ree, who plays Daehan. Did you know that, Edwin?
I knew that his brother was in the movie, and at first I was trying to figure out who it was, but then as they showed Daehan more, especially towards the end of the movie, I could definitely see the resemblance.
Yeah.
Even though, Daehan's got the goatee going.
Yeah, and the eye patch.
Yeah.
But Simon is still actually in the industry, as well as the actor who plays Sejin Kwan. James Liu. They're always like side martial arts characters. Most recently, I remember seeing both of them in Inception. Okay. They were what's his name? The Japanese actor.
Ken Watanabe.
Yeah, Ken Watanabe. They're his henchmen in the opening dream sequence.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, oh, hey, it's Daehan and Sejin Kwan. And I was like trying to connect it. And I was thinking, oh, yeah, Eric Roberts was in The Dark Knight. So he probably got them the gig. He's like, hey, Christopher Nolan.
That would be cool.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. But here, I'm looking at James Liu's filmography. He started in 1976. He has a storied career. The Killing of a Chinese Bookie, Ninja Turf, Big Trouble in Little China, Ninja Academy, all the way till now to Rush Hour 2, and he's always playing somebody as the bodyguard, as triad gangster, as Triad Assassin, as Shaolin Monk, as Flaming Dragon, as Chinese Guard, as Thug. Here's one of my favorites from Safe House in 1998 as Asian. So, it's, I know it sounds like kind of belittling him, but him and Simon Rhee are like the go-to like martial arts actors. If you want like a henchman, if you want somebody that like a villainous lackey or something like that, like those guys are like go-tos. So they've made a business out of it. They made a career out of it. So you can't put that lightly. So Eric Roberts, we don't really. I've seen he's most known for like the Pope of Greenwich Village. Have you seen that?
I have not.
Looking at his filmography right here too. Yeah, I mostly remember him recently in The Dark Knight, Inherent Vice. But he's always like supporting, so he didn't become like a breakout megastar like his sister, obviously. But he was still a bankable name, So bankable enough for this movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Philip Rhee. Let's look at his. He's born in 1960. He's 59 now. He's aged really great if you look at some of his pictures. By the way, obviously, right? He's a
right.
Yellow's always mellow, as they say.
Well,
yeah.
if he's still practicing
martial arts,
I'm sure that keeps him in tip-top shape.
So yeah, he peaked with the Best of the Best series, Best of the Best 2, 1993, Best of the Best 3, No Turning Back. Terrible titles, by the way. Best of the Best 4, Without Warning, 1998, and then he took a hiatus, maybe even retired. I guess the Best of the Best money really was enough to retire on. He made he made Underdog Kids, which he also directed, starring Tom Arnold and a bunch of unknowns that I can't even recognize. But it was probably another movie about. You know what I'm guessing is he probably has a karate studio as well, or a taekwondo studio, and he made a living off of that from his movies, right? Because famous
like free advertising.
Yeah, right. He's like, hey, famous martial arts director, martial arts action movie star, come and get some lessons. That's a great endorsement right there, right? But yeah, let's get into the movie. We're not gonna go scene by scene or anything like that, but I do want to mention. Sorry, go ahead.
Just kind of go with the major flow.
Sure, yeah. Mm-hmm. So from this point on, there's going to be spoilers for Best of the Best.
You need this fight bad. You need this fight for you, man.
I'm here to teach you how to win. Winning isn't a sometime thing. Winning is an all-time thing.
This is the only thing I know I am good at. Don't take that away from me.
You can work. You can sweat. You can train. You can dream and never be better than good. But when the right people come together at the right moment, when they care almost as much about winning as they do about each other, they can become the best of the best.
So the movie starts with pretty much we got to get the crew together, right? We got to, what's the word? Train? Not train.
Assemble
we got to audition? Is that the right word?
Yeah, or like recruit.
Yeah, recruiting. We have and this is great. Like, I love how, we check in with all of our main characters. When Travis comes in, he has like his boombox and his cowboy hat, and you can already tell he has like a loud, exciting attitude and personality, right? And then you got Virgil, who's kind of quiet, and he's like the silent killer type, right? And then you got Sonny Grasso, streetwise fighter from Detroit, and then you got our main two guys, Alex Grady, who has been a national champion before, but had to retire due to a shoulder injury, right? And then obviously, phenom sensation Tommy Lee, who runs his own dojo or taekwondo studio, whatever you want to call it, right? And he's like,
Yeah.
he's probably like the top rated prospect in America. He's gonna make it, and all under the tutelage of Frank Cuso, played by the great James Earl Jones, right?
Yep.
And I forget what scene we see him in. He's just watching everyone, right?
Yeah.
And he's a no nonsense kind of coach. You could tell by his strict demeanor, right? What do you think of Coach Kuzo?
Oh, he's played very well by James Earl Jones. This very imposing, stern figure,
Yeah.
and just his voice alone will not make you want to act up. This first scene that you describe, where it's a martial arts tournament, and it is an introduction to the characters, and it is a way to show that the coach is keeping his eyes on which members of the team he's interested in picking. It is juxtaposed by the opening scene that came even before that, where it opens with this Asian sounding music, and it's showing a lot of synchronized movements of these taekwondo fighters, and it's meant to show whether it's stereotypical or oversimplified or not, as like the Asian culture is all conformist. They all conform to the same thing. So the conformity on the negative side, if you want to put a positive spin, discipline. They're disciplined. So I guess depending on what side of the coin you're looking at.
Right. From a martial arts perspective, they're like machines, right? They're efficient killing machines, and they're not gonna. The only way to beat them is to train harder or have bigger heart, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, and they're all doing the same thing. There's no individualism. There's no personal style. Like, every movement is utterly coordinated to perfection. And then you've got this American, which is funny, they called it a karate tournament when it's really taekwondo, and I'm surprised, my Korean friends didn't make a bigger stink of it. I think, like you said, they were just so happy to see the Korean faces that they didn't complain about them calling it karate.
Oh, did they call it karate in the movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
So James Earl Jones is inviting them to join the U.S. karate team.
Oh, okay.
And he's going to some karate tournament.
Yeah.
They do mention taekwondo, here and there, but yeah, I just thought it was funny. But at the U.S., at this karate tournament in America, it's like you said, everyone's different. You got the hippie guy, you got the cowboy redneck, you got, the street savvy Italian American guy.
Yeah.
The Asian American. So you just got this whole mishmash.
We're just missing a black guy. That's all.
Yeah, I guess the only representation there really was the coach. But yeah, you've got, in some people's eyes, the American, patchwork quilt or melange, whatever you want to call it, but it's this whole mixture of different races and cultures and walks of life.
Yeah.
And somehow they're going to unite themselves enough to become a team.
Right.
And so you get this battle between Asian discipline / conformity versus American individualism and determination.
Yeah, but they got heart, man.
Yeah.
America's got heart, right? And just to further point out the ridiculousness of the drama, before we get into the tournament, we check in with each of our main characters. Particular Alex Grady, who as a kid and she's teaching him how to ride a bike, and he lives with his mom, Walter's grandma. We don't know what happened, but there's some issue with his wife, right? Which is going to be revealed later. And Tommy Lee is the head of his. We don't know if he's just a teacher or if he runs the studio, but obviously he's teaching a class. And then, in one of the most like lame, just over the top pieces of drama, when he breaks up the fight between two of his students, right? And he says, hey, we're in this together or something. I don't forget what he says, but do you remember? You saw it most recently. What does he say to his students?
I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly, but did he refer to them as brothers? I don't know.
It has to be something about that, because he was like,
yeah.
Oh no, he says, because we're friends. I want you to be the best of friends. Yeah, I remember now. Because they're fighting, and then it brings back a lot of memories for me, because I remember taking a taekwondo class in elementary school because I wanted to beat up a bully. Yeah. And I actually did. I actually beat up like one of his henchmen. Well, I didn't really beat up. I kicked him in the I roundhouse kicked him in the stomach. Yeah. And then he just fell to the ground. He was all talk. But
and that was the end of.
That was the end of my that Larry McCruder never picked on me again after that. So.
Well, I feel like the martial arts movie worked in the favor of Asian American kids of a certain generation.
Sure.
Because whether you knew kung fu, karate, taekwondo, judo, whatever, all you had to do was just pretend to know a move, and
then they'll leave you alone, right?
And people would generally be like, "Oh, this guy knows karate, whatever," and then just kind of, kind of stay away.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Until maybe they realized you didn't, but. I think, for a lot of non-Asian American kids, their impression of Asian Americans probably came from kung fu movies, and they're like, "Oh, wow, don't mess with those guys."
Right.
But, it's funny that you actually took a class to.
Yeah. So, our team is assembled. All of our characters are called by their name. I believe I could be mistaken, but I believe Alex Grady is the last one chosen. Is that correct?
Yes, it was I guess like a borderline call by the coach. The coach wasn't quite sure.
Yeah, because of his shoulder, right?
Yeah.
But he probably like, this guy has something to prove as well. He has a chip on his shoulder. Oh, you see what I did there?
Yeah.
But out of the guys, who do you like most? Out of all of our team members, Team USA.
I liked Sonny Grasso.
Mm-hmm.
He just seemed like a likable dude, and there's a scene later on when they are basically starting their training camp, and he checks into the hotel room, and he is listening to some music on his headphones.
Yeah.
I was just like, when he's like, "Oh, I'm a collector of sorts," or whatever he says.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He's listening to opera.
Right.
Like, okay, this dude's a little different. He's cool.
He bunks with one of the coaches, right? Or the the research assistant or something.
Yeah, he's
the statistics like guy.
Coach's trainer.
Yeah, he's the stat line guy. I remember he was just like, if you want statistics, I got statistics on blah 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 blah, and he's like the nerd guy, right? He's the brainy guy. And then you got Travis and Virgil bunking together. That's always. I wish they had more screen time, because I just love like odd couple kind of pairings, And that's a great odd couple, right? Virgil's the silent type, like I said before, and Travis is the rambunctious, like loud personality type. So of course we're gonna get a lot of conflict there, and of course we're gonna get a lot of conflict in the first night before training camp, and that is at the bar, which is one of my favorite scenes, because coach says before training camp, no women, right? No booze,
Yeah.
no women. So you better get your licks in the night before because it's all uphill from here, right? So, which you can see Travis's face, just like, all right, I got to get laid. And then we have the scene at the bar. It's just some local. Um, do they say where this takes place? I can't remember. It's like it's not in it's not in California, right?
I don't remember. I don't.
It could be in like
where.
Colorado or so. It seems like very like country.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, we go to the bar. There's like country music playing. They're like square dancing. Travis already getting into trouble. He's flirting with another guy's girlfriend while playing pool, right? So everyone, Sonny can't get laid. He's like, I don't get it. You know, I'm Italian, right? He's like, no, he's just getting turned down left and right. And I think like Alex at one point says like, hey, maybe you should become a Buddhist because Virgil's like, Virgil's hot right now. He's flirting with a girl. I believe he just like came to her aid because like someone spilled a drink on her or something like that, right?
No, he does.
Oh, he spilled a drink on her. Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Yeah. So, what do you think of this bar scene? And then it erupts right when when a bar fight breaks out.
Yeah, everything centers on when Travis is dancing with some other guy's girl. He's too busy playing pool, so she wants to make him jealous, and so she goes and dances with Travis. And then Tommy comes and he's trying to diffuse everything. And
right, yeah.
This is in character with what happened in his martial arts studio where he saw the two boys arguing. And
okay, great.
Diffuses it. So he doesn't like conflict. He
Yeah.
doesn't like confrontation, and we kind of see why, later on in the movie. But, he always tries to settle things peacefully. So, he's trying to talk to the guys and say, we're leaving, we're out of here. But, the other guys keep instigating. And
Yeah.
so, everything
it's
goes off.
It's typical for, of course, he's the hero, so he has to have like this code of honor and morality. But
Yeah.
it also goes to the fact that like, Asian Americans, even first generation Asian Americans, is it first generation the ones who are born here?
Well, those would be first
Generation Asian Americans, right?
Well, they'd be considered second generation.
Okay, yeah.
Asian
Well,
Americans.
whatever it is, I just wanted to point that out because he's like the typical. He's respectful, right? He's very honorable. He has a lot of those traits that are instilled in Asian Americans as we grow up, right? To respect our elders, to treat people with respect and kindness, and a lot of people, Americans in general, see that as a form of weakness, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we get that exchange later on with the Chris Penn character when he picks on him, right? So he sees that like his form of honor and respect as a sign of weakness. So I just wanted to point that out, and because they do make that a point of making that a theme, even though they don't touch on it so much, and it's kind of resolved in a lame, cheap way, but it is addressed in the movie, so it's an issue that Asian Americans go through, and it's good that they pointed it out. But yeah, so fight breaks out, and it's like kind of like a rumble in the jungle there, right? And Alex just is talking in the phone booth, and he's just calling home, and a fight breaks out, and like a guy like runs into like a piece of glass or a frame as he's talking, right? So I thought that was like kind of a cool scene.
Yeah, I think the intent of the scene was to show how it kind of brings them together as a team.
Yeah.
It's not, it's not perfect because earlier on, Travis says something racist to Tommy, the stereotypical "so sorry," how many
Oh,
times
right,
has an
right, yeah,
Asian person heard that, and so that's just like one of many instances where Tommy insults. Sorry, when Travis insults Tommy, but it's like, so you're going from that to a fight that they're all involved with, so it is not the perfect team, but it's they're slowly starting to bond.
Yeah.
That when you said that moment, that scene where the guy gets hit through the window and it's like this slow mo. It's just very,
it's
very
a
80s.
very 80s action movie.
Yeah.
And then Frank is like, all right, enough, everyone. He's like, you've had your little warm up. Let's get to business. Let's everyone go home. Yeah, I like how Frank was just like chilling back at the bar, just watching everything. That was pretty.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. So yeah, we get into the training. Training begins. Yeah, and all the personalities are clashing. Travis is antagonizing, which is fitting for his character. I could see that in that kind of character. So, and then we get our first glimpse of another character, second assistant coach Catherine Wade, who has a more I'm reading from the Wikipedia plotline here, who has a more spiritual approach to training, which clashes with Kuzo's more rigorous coaching techniques. So yeah, she's a cool character. I like when she comes and like Travis is like trying to get her number and stuff.
Yeah. Whereas Virgil feels very comfortable.
Yeah.
She's talking in very spiritual, psychological, metaphysical, tones. And,
like Zen Buddhist type
right
of
at home,
teachings. Yeah, he could tell. He's like, yes, finally, somebody who understands me. Not all these loud, obnoxious American types, with the exception of Alex and Tommy, of course. But
if this movie were today, this would not be a big deal.
Yeah.
Sports psychology and meditation, it's commonplace doing yoga. But back in the 80s, it's like, what?
It's like revolutionary.
What does this have to do with sports?
But yeah, it adds a lighter, feminine touch to the entire training process, which I thought was nice. So then we get our matchups, right? And this is really cool. I don't know if this is realistic, how close to reality this is, but maybe, I don't know, I'll look it up later. But I find that the idea very fascinating of like you're assigned an opponent and you have to look at film of them and you have to know everything about your opponent, right? Mm-hmm. They're your enemy and you have to just train day and night with them in mind to kill your opponent. Well, not kill, but you know what I mean,
defeat.
Yeah, to defeat them. And everyone gets assigned. I don't remember all the other Korean national team names. All I remember is Alex Grady's Sejin Kwan, and obviously when Tommy Lee gets assigned Daehan, he gets a reaction, and we don't know what that's about, but he's scared, he's intimidated. What do you think of the opponent assignment scene here?
It was cool because it showed the American fighters the challenge of what they were up against, and you could tell that they knew they were outclassed, and that they were going up against a tough opponent.
Yeah, even the way when Coach Kuzo is like introducing them, and you hear like him describing them, it's just like it's so intimidating, I love the way that was portrayed. So yeah, we know something's going on with Daehan Park, but we don't know what. Something, he's afraid of him, but we'll get into that later. So, you can't have a sports drama without training montage, and here we have one of the coolest ones. We got the juxtaposition, right? We got a cross cut between the two teams, and
Joseph, before you go into that, which I'm looking forward to talking about in the matching up of opponents. That's where we get the flashback with Daehan fighting Tommy's brother David, right?
Yeah.
And so you see that whole ice cream cone falling to the ground, which is obviously, melodramatic.
It's so heavy-handed.
Yeah, but I'm sure back in the day, kids probably, thought it was so deep and.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's an obvious visual metaphor for innocence lost, right?
Yeah.
I'm not laughing because his innocence was lost. I'm just laughing at the metaphor.
I gotcha.
But yeah, continue.
Yeah.
So it's already revealed, right?
Yeah, it's already revealed. So you know that there's something more to this fight than just Tommy, facing the top Korean fighter. It's Tommy facing top Korean fighter that happened to kill his brother.
Yeah. You killed my brother! You dirty rat! Yeah, it's such an 80s plot, right? Like, revenge. You killed my brother, man.
And there were some other playing up to the stereotypes, like the Korean team. They're single-minded in the pursuit of excellence. That stereotype, and then I think there was a scene earlier where they're having a team meal. Some guy was eating sushi. I don't know if it was Virgil. Virgil was eating sushi, and Travis was like, "Oh, spare ribs. That's American food." So you kind of see the us versus them, East versus West. America versus the world.
Let me ask you this real quick. Not to perpetuate the stereotype, but how true is that stereotype of Korean Americans and their single-minded pursuit of excellence? I know, like, Korean parents push that a lot, right? Like, especially in studies and stuff like that.
The term Tiger Mom became part of the American lexicon.
Yeah,
there must be some truth to that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that Asian parents of a certain generation can be demanding, push their kids hard. So there's something there. I wouldn't say that it's coming out of nowhere.
Right. But yeah, just the way they're portrayed, right, is like completely farcical. Like, obviously, the direct comparison is the Rocky IV montage, right, where you get Rocky training. He's like all natural in the woods and in the mountains, and you got Drago, like, it's all machines. Yeah, he's like running on a treadmill and running on a track and lifting weights, and Rocky's like lifting, wagons and running through snow, and it's really, I love that juxtaposition of the two training. It's one of my favorite aspects of a martial arts movie, of a sports movie in general. So it always like motivates me to start working out. like this, like if every time I see a training montage in Rocky, I'm like, I start like jogging in place or like shadow boxing. So it's like the soundtrack, ditto the soundtrack, because like every time I hear the Rocky IV soundtrack, like I just want to start jogging. And this soundtrack isn't that bad either, so I really like the 80s soundtrack of Best of the Best as well.
The song that they played during that training montage is a ripoff of Eye of the Tiger.
Really?
I'm pretty sure that this movie came after Rocky 3. I believe Eye of the Tiger was in Rocky 3. Right?
Yeah.
And so, they were trying to evoke that same feeling. And besides the Rocky comparison, which I totally agree with, when they're running on the beach as a team, I sense a little chariots of fire
right
there, whether it's intentional or
as
not.
well as Rocky 3 when Rocky and Apollo are running on the beach. Good call. It's always great to see them training together and the camaraderie, right? And then they're dying. Travis is dying. I don't know how does this guy get chosen. He's so out of shape. It's so unrealistic.
Yeah.
But I'll buy it. It's I'll buy it for the movie and just because like Chris Penn is such a cool actor to watch. So, but then you juxtapose that with the Korean national team, and they're just like, there's no pain at all. There's just just going through the motion, and they're like, they're training in the snow, like under a waterfall, and they're trying to chop down trees with their bare with their bare like wrist or their hand
Yeah.
or something. Like, wow, it's like, oh man, there's no comparison, right? It's like
Right.
they were like, yeah, Team USA's got their work cut out for them, right? So, where are we now? We are past the training montage.
Yeah, so this should bring us to where Alex hears about his son's accident.
Right, yeah, and he's trying to negotiate with Coach Kuzo to go home and take a leave of absence. And due to Coach Kuzo's strict, rigid training regimen, he cuts Alex from the team. And
I really... Oh, sorry.
no, I'm done. Go ahead.
I really thought Eric Roberts did a good job of acting here. I felt like his acting stood out
Okay.
when he hears about his son's accident.
Yeah, right.
Does a good job of being torn up about that. And
Yeah.
then when he has to tell the coach that he's leaving, but the coach says, then, that's it. If you're going to leave, then you're off the team. And Eric Roberts says, you can't take this away from me because this is the only thing that I know that I'm good at. I could really feel his desperation there.
Yeah,
Some might say maybe he was overacting it. No, I thought he did a good job.
Well, obviously, in the hands of a better director, he probably would have gotten a few more takes.
Sure.
I have a sense that they probably used the first take. But, Eric Roberts acts his heart out, and kudos to him. And, yeah, he does sell the fact that, this is the only thing he knows how to do in life, and he probably has, like, a bunch of odd jobs. And with the exception of his son, this is probably the only thing meaningful in his life. And yeah, it was really heartbreaking to hear that it could be taken away from him, and it did. But totally in line with Coach Kuzo's character and his regimen. So then Alex leaves. He tells Tommy, right? Yeah, he packs and Tommy tells him to get his stuff later. He's like, oh, we'll talk to him or something. He has some kind of hope left. He's a good friend. And okay, yeah, we haven't really talked about Tommy and Alex's relationship. So it's a lot of just formalities that they go through, right? They talk about themselves. Like Alex talks about his kid, and Tommy, says, I work with kids and stuff like that. And yeah, in one of those conversations, Alex does mention that his wife Melissa passed away, right? But yeah, what do you think of that relationship? Because I don't know if
I can see it as a brotherly relationship. They're
mutual respect.
Mutual respect. They both lost someone special to them, and so there's multiple levels of bonding between the two.
Yeah, you could tell like from when they met at the tournament, like they bonded, right? He gave him some tape. Right, and then you could tell they get each other, and their personality types match, and Alex sticks up for Tommy. Well, he doesn't need it, but especially that one scene where the Travis Tommy conflict hits the head, right? And I think they're at like some buffet. They're at a restaurant, right? And Travis like calls him out, and he says like, "What are you, yellow?" And then Tommy's like, "Obviously," right? Everyone just laughs. I wish like Tommy would have stood up more against him, but again, he's the guy. He's the kind of guy that avoids conflict. It's not like he shied away from it. He didn't like he didn't man up, but at the same time, he just dealt with it in a different way, right?
Yeah.
In a more pacifist way,
Yeah.
which is in line with his character. So,
And that will bring us to the next point where they're in their training session and the coach tells Tommy not to hold back.
right, yeah, he's pulling
sensing
punches.
that he's not putting everything into his kicks and punches. And so Tommy hears this and he ends up breaking
The targeting thing.
the targeting machine and hurts Virgil in the process.
Yeah.
And so, I think that was meant to show Tommy doesn't want to necessarily, be the fighter. He doesn't want to be aggressive. He doesn't want to be violent.
Yeah, because of what happened with him and his brother.
Right.
But yeah, it's an interesting. I never really thought of that, but yeah, it's because they don't really do a good job of portraying it or realizing it on screen. But yeah, the fact that like he has this like power, this dormant power, right? That he's just afraid to unleash, and then and then we finally get like a glimpse of it in this moment where he like knocks out Virgil, and he's like, even he's shocked, right? He's like, and terrible acting, but like the way he just like steps back and then like runs away. He's not a dramatic actor, so I shouldn't be picking on him too much, but he runs away. He packs his stuff and he leaves. Yeah, he just he drives off in his motorcycle, right?
Yeah, this image of a reluctant fighter, a reluctant badass, whether it's Logan or the Incredible Hulk, where they really don't want to get into these situations, but they're almost like forced into there. So they're compelled to end up having to hurt people.
I don't want to hurt you because I may kill you, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
And just don't. I'm not a killer, but don't push me, right?
Yeah.
Where's that from? Is that like a rap line?
I don't know.
But I ain't a killer, so don't push me. It was like Kanye or something. I don't know. I'll look it up later. Yeah, so he goes off. At this point, two members are gone. Like your two top prospects are gone at this point. And again, I don't know how realistic this is. Wouldn't they just like put the next man up and fill in for them, or it's not enough time, right?
Yeah, not enough time.
Yeah, it's a weird portrayal of this sport because it's not very realistic. Once you start thinking about it too much, it starts to unravel, right?
Sure, yeah, you can't think too hard about this one.
It just goes to show you that they didn't put the legwork in, the writers, anyway. But
like you said, there were a lot of odd martial arts movies that were based off of pretty preposterous ideas.
Right?
It's like,
We can fault them for a couple of plot holes, but at this point, Travis and the others, Sonny and Virgil, are fed up. They try to persuade Coach Kuzo to reinstate Alex, because they're like, we need him. And then this is supposed to be the dramatic arc of Travis, right? He's like, he finally becomes selfless. He's like, he's thinking as a team now. He's not thinking of himself, and not that great of I mean, it's a great moment for him, but like, it's a kind of a shortcut way of him getting that arc.
Well, I thought it was consistent with his character because he says we need Alex first.
Mm-hmm.
The white guy, and then he's like, and then he says Tommy after that. He swallows his pride and realizes Tommy, this guy that he's been writing and making fun of, that he's their best fighter.
Yeah.
And you could see that through all of this, they have bonded.
In a better dramatic movie, that conflict would have been dragged out and would have reached a better resolution. because there's a lot more material there with Travis and Tommy, you know, like
Yeah.
but again, anyway, so at this point Tommy's on the road, right?
Hmm.
And he stops at a gas station, and of course he sees two kids eating ice cream. One of the they're probably brothers, obviously, and the younger brother drops his ice cream cone, and the older brother gives him his, and puts a smile on Tommy's face, and he's probably thinking of his brother, and what his brother would have done for him, and what he wants to do for his brother. All these things are probably racing through his mind. Yeah, how would you think of this scene?
Yeah, again, it was like the other ice cream scene. It's a bit sappy and a bit overdone, but it's to brand, It's consistent with what the movie has been. So
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. But it is the impetus to send Tommy back.
Yeah. Well, before this, I
Going
forgot
to-
to mention when Tommy leaves. Well, before Tommy leaves, Alex tries to stop him,
Mhm.
and they have like a dramatic moment, and he tells him. He finally reveals, right? He's been having nightmares. We've been seeing him not getting enough sleep, and like Tommy. By the way, I'm talking about Tommy. And when he's in the gym, he's like purging his demons in on the punching bag, and he's like overworking. He's overworked. He's just like it's just stressing him out, right? So he left mainly because of that. But when he knocked out Virgil, that was the tipping point for him. But I just remember that moment because my other friend from college, my only other friend who's watched Best of the Best, by the way, he always makes fun of that line where Eric Roberts says, "When Melissa died, I just packed it in, man. I just did something and I just packed it in." And I don't know why. It's just like such an inside joke between him and I, and the way he delivers that is pretty funny. Like, what does that mean exactly? What is he? Oh, he repressed it, right? Is that what he means by packed it in?
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't let it out, so he just repressed it, and he just ate it, right? And he sees that as what Tommy did for his brother's death. Did they mention Tommy's name? Tommy's brother's name?
Yeah, it was David.
David. Okay, David. Okay.
And it also touches on the coach, that the pressure of history is also on him. So maybe that explains why he's so bent on winning, and he's so strict and stern.
Right.
Because not only did he lose, in the past, but one of his fighters died.
Yeah. Which was revealed as Catherine Wade is like trying to uncover this conspiracy, right? She's like, "What's going on?" And she finally gets the Tommy Lee file, which is, I don't know, was redacted or hidden from her for some reason, probably because he didn't want somebody to dissuade him from matching them up. But yeah, she goes off on Catherine Wade goes off on Coach Kuzo, says we should not have put Tommy in the ring with Daehan, and Kuzo has his arc, and he finally says the reason why he's so hard on these guys is because he doesn't want another fighter dying on his watch.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much is what happened to David. He was too lenient, probably, right? And he just let him do whatever and have fun and party. And he was not prepared. He didn't prepare them, right? They were not. He says they were not prepared, right? In the words of James Earl Jones. So yeah, I get that's his arc. He just does not want to repeat his mistakes. Cool arc. I thought that was pretty cool for him.
Yeah.
So Tommy, we're caught up, and Tommy, sees the whole ice cream thing, and then returns home. So
Alex comes back.
Right. Does Alex come back to the gym, or do they meet up? Does he meet up with them at the airport?
I want to say Alex meets him at the airport. He was the last
No. Well, Alex goes home though. He goes home and he's like sitting bedside with his son. His son's like in a coma. Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was like a dramatic scene where Coach asks him back, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought it was a bigger scene, but I guess that could have happened. Like he probably just met them up and gave them a plane ticket. They all meet up at the airport. We find out that Virgil shaved because that's an important plot point, of course. And Tommy, we see Tommy, and he says, if you'll have me, I'd like to be on the team again. And Coach Kuzo accepts him with open arms, and everyone's happy. Everyone hugs. And we're on our way. The team is fully assembled again, right? Reassembled. Team USA. Fighting. So, the tournament is here. We're in Seoul, Korea, correct?
Yes.
Seoul, Korea, South Korea, and we get our first two matches, which are Virgil and Sunny, who are pretty much outclassed by their Korean opponents.
And there's a familiar face, good old Ahmad Rashad.
Yeah,
doing the announcing.
Right. Again, I don't know how realistic this is. I always thought it was when I was a kid. I always thought it was like the Olympics, but it's probably just like some standard like karate tournament.
Yeah, it wouldn't have made American television, but you have that scene of people
Right.
watching it.
People watching in Detroit. Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting. Maybe not completely believable.
Again, you gotta suspend your disbelief, my friend. But then, we get the first two opponents, and they're leading in the points. And Travis does his best. He's pretty much fighting on hard alone. He's going point for point. I forget his Korean opponent's name. But he loses in a tiebreaker when they have to break the bricks, right?
Right.
And that was pretty cool. Like his opponent does like the bridge hand technique, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was cool. Even like when Ahmad Rashad was saying, he's like, "This is a very unusual technique, the bridge hand technique." And
it was cool because when Travis did it, he probably broke more bricks than he had in training, and he was really pleased with himself, and the team was pleased.
Yeah.
But then the other guy had to one up him.
Oh, Sun Young Moon was Tung Sung Moon. Sorry, I swear I'm not doing this on purpose. I just remembered it was Sung Young Moon, but Tung Sung Moon was Travis's opponent. Go ahead.
Even though Travis and Tommy have bonded and are teammates, and I'm sure Travis probably stopped saying racist things to Tommy, it still doesn't prevent him from saying "Come on, Kimchi" to his opponent and hearing abuse from the crowd. So,
well, back then,
he hasn't completely changed.
Back then, even like in the 2000s, it's overt racist comments like that were heavily accepted, socially acceptable, and probably made us like him more because he was not because he was racist, but because that's part of his personality, right? Just being like the colorful personality. But anyway, the judge is like counting the bricks, and Travis is like almost crying, and he's like, what are you counting him for, kind of thing. We have the matchup with Seijin Kwan and Alexander Grady, and this is a triumph of like single-handedly brings them into a comeback, right? Points wise.
Mm-hmm.
So Alex dominates his match with his opponent Seijin Kwan, but then he takes a devastating axe kick to his shoulder, which dislocates it, and then you could tell he's in so much pain. He's crying.
I thought he did another great job of acting. Tape it up, tape it.
You could tell you could feel the pain. Even when he tells Tommy to pop it back in, he's like, "Oh my God!" He's like, "Pop it, Tommy, pop it, do it, pop it."
That's great.
He's just like, so Tommy pops it back in. You can hear so brutal. Everyone in the crowd. Oh, and his son and his mom is in the crowd too. And then he's
Oh
like,
yeah.
he's like, thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
So we finally get to see the soft side of Coach Kuzo, right?
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, he's having fun too, and he's like smiling. He's like, wow, Coach Kuzo, he knows how to smile. It's pretty funny. So yeah, he ends up fighting. He resumes the fight. He tapes it up, and in a great like sports movie moment, like he's like avoiding. He's a keep away from the shoulder, keep away from the shoulder, and then he almost knocks him out, but then at the end he like delivers some kind of like Karate Kid kind of kick, and like knocks him into the into the judges stand or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, victory, and he's crying. He's he's at home. He's doing what he does best, right?
Yeah.
And that was a cool character moment for Alex Grady.
Yeah. So he stood his ground enough to keep the American team within striking distance.
Yes.
Of the Koreans.
Yeah. So now we have
we get
the what we've all been waiting for, right? The match of the night. The Are You Ready to Rumble main event. Tommy Lee versus Daehan Park. You killed my brother, man. So Tommy faces Daehan, and after a slow start, gets the upper hand with a series of blows. Yeah, this is a really my favorite fight. Obviously, it's our two main martial artists, the two real life brothers. So this is like a tour de force of choreography, and just a stunning display of taekwondo and karate, if you want to.
Yeah, this is the first match where everything seems at like regular speed. Like the other four matches, it seemed more deliberate and slowed down. But
Yeah. This you could tell like they're acting fighting, right?
Yeah.
With exception,
you can tell it's two people that know what they're doing.
Yeah. They're just like dodging kicks and ducking and I don't know all the. I'm not a martial artist, so I don't know all the technical terms, but just watching it is really stunning and a sight to behold. And this is what you watch it for. This is the main event, and it does not disappoint. So go ahead.
I thought like when their bout starts, it was pretty menacing when Daehan strikes first.
Yeah.
And gets Tommy with this just like lightning fast strike, and then is like walking away.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He's such a bad. He's like obviously so intimidating with the eye patch. I wonder what happened to him, by the way. But maybe Daryl Hannah poked his eye out from Kill Bill. But no, yeah, you could tell like he's not above honor, right? He does a lot of illegal moves, right? He kicks him in the groin. He hits him with an illegal forearm or something like that. And to the coach's dismay, he's like yelling like another illegal hit, right? So Daehan's a dirty fighter. And but Tommy, Tommy was losing the fight in the beginning, and then after a lot of what do you call it? What's the term I'm looking for? I don't know. He makes adjustments, and then he ends up ahead of the match, and pretty much gives him enough blows to where Daehan is like on the verge of death, right?
Right. He's wobbly. He's barely standing.
Yeah, and that's the whole arc of Tommy Lee. He's getting what he wanted. But is that what he really wants? Does he really want to kill Daehan for revenge? And everyone's on the bench is screaming. Alex is like, Coach, he's gonna kill him. Coach Kuzo is just like, Tommy, no, don't do it. And he's prepping to deliver a final blow, and you can see it in his eyes that he wants to do it. And according to the plot, like he needs one more point for the victory, right?
Yeah.
if he gives him one blow, like that'll kill him, right? So
Right.
I don't know.
So,
Could he have just like swept him or something? Like just knock him down? Like
yeah, I could have just
technically,
literally just pushed him over with one finger at that
yeah,
point. But yeah, it just goes to show that the coach and the rest of the team, they understood that victory wasn't as important as doing the right thing.
yeah, and saving a
And this
man's
is the
life.
same coach that was telling Tommy to not hold back, but here he's telling Tommy to do the exact opposite.
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas, like, yeah, I was saying that because I wanted to win, but winning's not as important to me right now.
right. Yeah, so he forfeits the overall victory by saving Daehan's life, and the time runs out. Daehan falls to the floor, and as Tommy walks back, Coach consoles him, telling him, you won that match. Don't ever forget that, which is a cool, uplifting moment, right?
Hmm.
And then we have we get to the end here, and we have the medal ceremony, and the Korean national team is awarded medals. This is why I thought it was the Olympics, because they get medals.
Yeah.
Team USA is just wallowing in their defeat, lowered heads, looking down. And then we have unexpected approach of Daehan towards Tommy, and he delivers a uplifting speech in broken English, and he apologizes for the death of Tommy's brother, and in turn offers himself as a brother, which I thought was a nice moment.
Hmm.
But hey, they're real brothers in real life, so could be my brother anytime, Daehan. So Tommy accepts, and Daehan gives him his medal. And after that, of course, it inspires the rest of the team. Sejun Kwan then walks up to Alex, and I love what he says. He says, I know everything about you. And then, Alex is like, Sejun Kwan from Seoul, Korea, I know everything I ever needed to know about you. And then they start crying and hugging, and the tearful, uplifting moment of a sports drama, right?
Hmm.
What do you think of this ending? Too hammy? Too cheesy?
Again, it goes with the rest of the movie. It just shows that both teams were playing for honor and respect. So
Yeah.
there's no real bad guy in this movie,
Mm-hmm.
even though it might have seemed like that
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
the beginning. They both respect each other, and they both do the honorable thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was hard, not to feel good about the ending. And I'm sure if I was a 10-year-old kid, I probably would have been hooting and hollering and thought it was great. And I just hope that both teams, went out for some beer and soju and hung out and partied.
Some kimchi fried rice and some jokbal. Some
Yeah.
jokbal. I just know all that from because Twice eats jokbal a lot.
Oh, that's the pig's feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
um,
I could tell you picked up some other things maybe from your K-pop fandom, like fighting.
yeah, fighting. Fighting. So yeah, that was a cool, uplifting ending. Tommy, gets a surrogate brother, and then with the final shot, we see Tommy and Alex lifting each other's arms in victory with their medals. So that was cool. And then Travis gives Tung Sung Moon his cowboy hat. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
That was pretty cool too. Yeah. So final thoughts on the movie?
It is a good encapsulation of the 80s, of the time that it was made. If you're looking for cinematic greatness, you're barking up the wrong tree. But if you want to get a slice of the 80s, from the music to the hairstyles to the fashion to movie making,
Yeah.
then this is a nice time capsule.
Sure.
Yeah, it's kind of a stereotypical hoorah type movie where root for America, then I guess this would be it.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I was kind of expecting what it would be like, so I didn't have any grand expectations.
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I agree with all your points. Great encapsulation of an 80s movie for that time and era. I also think is such an empowering movie for Asian American males in particular, with Philip Ree and his brother Simon Ree to showcase their incredible martial arts choreography and prowess. I was watching, I think, Mortal Kombat from like 1990 something for my one of my Lazerboy posts, and I was like, man, this fight choreography is terrible. And then I was jonesing to watch like another martial arts movie with good martial arts choreography, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna pull up an old favorite of mine, Best of the Best, and I'm really glad I revisited it because it just reminded me how good fight choreography it is, and how it is one of a kind sports martial arts movie. By the way, it is a personal favorite film of the MMA legend Chuck Liddell, named Best of the Best as his favorite martial arts movie. So, but yeah, it's one of my favorite martial arts movies, and I'm really glad I got to revisit the film and to review it on the podcast with you, my friend Edwin. So, thank you for watching it with me and reviewing it with me.
Well, thank you for asking me, giving me the chance to.
Cool, man. And if you guys are interested, please check out Best of the Best 2. It's it's like, it embraces more of its B-movie roots, more of like a fight to the death, MMA kind of arena. Also stars Eric Roberts, Philip Ree, and Chris Penn. But I would skip part 3 and 4 because they just go off the rails from that at that point. And Best of the Best is available on Amazon Prime Video and Blu-ray and DVD. So please check those out if you guys want. And please check out more podcasts of The Lazerboy at thelazerboy.wordpress.com. And email us at thelazerboyblogger@gmail.com. And thank you guys for joining. We'll see you next time.
All right. See you later.
Take your head off.